What's going on, guys? So in this week's video we're going to tidy up the Exo Terra Bioactive enclosure rack, so stick around. So this rack's doing very good, but just like me and my quarantine beard, it's getting a little bit out of hand. Some of the plants are growing in a little bit too fast, so we need to do a bit of a trim back. I just need to go through and tidy up some glass and do a little few jobs here and there. Like in particular, this little enclosure down here, the water bowl in there is a little bit inaccessible, so it's a big water bowl, and for me to properly clean it I can't get it out and in. And it also is missing its Mist King nozzle, so I have to manually spray that one, so I need to fix that up and join that into the system as well. So yeah, we're just going to do a few little odd jobs here, tidy up some glass, cut some plants, and get it all nice and spruced up and looking good again, and then I'll give you a little bit of a look around after that. So I've just made a pretty lucky discovery. This is my little common eastern froglet tank. These guys are going to be getting a bit of an upgrade in the near future because I've moved a couple of other animals on. But for now, these guys haven't been in the actual main Exo Terra rack there. So their lid has the nozzle already in it, and it's the same style of Exo Terra tank as the one that I've got these little Latoria bicolour, the northern sedge frogs in. So it's just going to be a straight swap, and then I'm just going to have to alter the little nozzle on there with one of the ones that's on the end there, just to just change out the T for a right angle. And then from there, it's just going to be as easy as putting it all back together and getting it in. And hopefully, while I do all this, I don't lose any frogs. If I was going to lose any, it's going to be the Latoria bicolour, because these guys are like little rockets with legs. So try to get this in pretty quick. There we go. Nice, safe and sound. Okay. Happy days, that'll get me out of trouble for a bit, and I'll swap a few of these parts over. So with a bit of a struggle, I got the little right angle piece out of the other enclosure up there. I think I've got one of the Wibberba leaf tails in there. Oh, that came out so much easier. So because this enclosure is going on the end, we need to put the right angle into that side, and the T piece is going to go into the Wibberba's enclosure now. We'll get this all in place and get it all connected. It's another little job that I've just been wanting to do for ages, ticked off the list. It's only taken a couple of minutes. Should have done it earlier. Alright, so I've managed to get the water bowl out. These little guys are hopping mad though. They just bounce so fast and bounce everywhere inside these little enclosures. I've had this old bromeliad kicking around in a pot for ages. And I thought, yeah, maybe just to kind of try to match things up a little bit more with the other enclosures that I've got in here, I might put it inside this enclosure and give these little guys somewhere pretty cool to hide out in. They'll get in between all the little leaves, and like there's a million little pups on this thing. Well, not a million, but there's probably half a dozen little pups hanging off this bromeliad, so it's growing in quite nice. I've gotten pretty much all the dirt off the bottom of the base as well, just so there's no fertilizers or anything like that that are going to come in contact with these little frogs. I'm just going to probably put it right down in this front right hand corner of this little Exo Terra enclosure, which will be pretty much situated underneath the Mist King nozzle, which will mean that it's going to get a good watering every day. It'll continue to grow. Try to figure out the orientation. Of the plant. Pretty dense bit of vegetation inside of this enclosure, so might even think about taking that log out as well. Just got to be so careful with these little guys because they just bounce. Pretty lucky getting that out without any frogs stuck to it. Quickly get this lid back in before they start popping out the top. Alright, got that in, frogs are in. Whew. So just by taking out that branch, it's an awesome little branch too, so I'll probably actually transfer it down into, I think my green stream frogs need another branch in there, so I'll probably use that in there just to bulk that out a little bit, maybe add another one in there as well today. But these little enclosures, this is a 30 by 30 by 45 Exo Terra. There's not much space inside of them, so I'd rather for these guys that it be pretty dense in vegetation and they can just hop around between that. Let's see how they go. Spread a few of these leaves out too. That's going to be so much better for me to access and even just to put crickets and stuff like that in there for them. I'll go and grab their new little water bowl and we'll chuck it in there, hey? So I've just got them another little Exo Terra water bowl, but instead of taking up, you know, most of their land space, I could put, oh. You know what? I was going to put this in there. I really was. But now, because I've gotten that branch out, and that was kind of sitting in front of that larger water bowl, I might actually use this one back in there again, just then they've got tons of water, so, you know, if I'm really, really lucky and they decide that they want to breed for me, they've got a bit of a water body to do that in. And I've got a lot better access now that I could get it in and out without disturbing everything. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And there's so many little bugs crawling around in the substrate in here. It's quite cool to see. Just trying to make sure I'm not going to squash anyone. Alright, I think I found somewhere where I'm kind of happy with the bowl. We'll put it back up underneath the lights and we'll show you the little enclosure and the kind of half drab plants, but hopefully give it another month or so, these plants should bounce back pretty good. I've got to fill up that water bowl as well. So that little enclosure is looking pretty good now. It's definitely starting to blend in a little bit more with the other plants that are decked out with all the umbrella plants and parlour palms and stuff like that. And hopefully now that we've got the watering system on the on here as well, and a bit more regular watering, it'll actually make those plants thrive rather than just survive. Yes, I need to clean some glass pretty majorly. Look at the red eyes tank. These guys love hanging on the glass. They're starting to get a little bit chunky now too. So I'll need to clean that up. You can see the green streams have been great to me and pooped all over the glass. So one good thing about the leaf-tail geckos is they don't tend to do that unless they get a really lucky shot in like this little Maritzi. So yes, let's add some more branches into the green stream tank because that's looking pretty bare. And we'll go from there. Well, I didn't film me putting branches in an enclosure, but I'm pretty sure most of you know how to do that already. These parlour palms are slowly adjusting to some more submerged aquatic life, if you will. And the philodendron's doing pretty good in here as well, actually. It's starting to kind of bounce back, even with the frogs bouncing all over the top of it. The aquatic section of the tank's doing really well. There's a couple of little fish in there. Need to do a little algae scrape here as well, so I might get a razor blade on for that. Got some Java moss and all sorts growing in here. There's a little filter in the back corner, I don't think you can see it. They've got an awesome little hollow log under here as well that they can kind of climb around in and hide in during the day. That's going to be a lot nicer for them to have a few more perching spaces for nighttime hunting. Yeah, it's a pretty aquatic tank, this one. Not a lot of land. Down the track I may add some more gravel into that back side of it just to kind of bulk it out a little bit and give them some drier area to get out onto, just similar to what I've done in the red eyes tank there.
too sure. How can I be the one like you in a moment? Say the brother, I wanna know if your high lips are never low. Do you know what it just can be in a moment? Nevermore I'll be the one.
So the glass is all clean. It's looking fantastic. There's only one more thing I think I want to really actually do to kind of neaten it up a little bit, and that's just to trim back a few of the plants, in particular the umbrella plants. They, whoop, let's get a bit of a better light on there. They seem to grow super quickly, so I don't think they're going to take any beating if I trim them back a little bit, but they've just kind of gone right out of control. It looks fantastic, but we're going to need to cut them back and let them just have a little bit more room to grow before they start dying off as a plant. Apart from that, after I've finished that, we're going to go through and have a look at a few critters that we can find. A little bit hard being daytime and they're all nocturnal critters, but we'll see what we can show you. Plants are all trimmed up now. I just wanted to mainly do these 3 tanks because they're actually the oldest tanks that I set up. These were originally for the 3 leaf-tailed geckos when I started down that wormhole. But anyway, the rest of them are pretty good at the moment, so I'm not going to touch those plants. I'll let them grow in a little bit further. But without further ado, we're going to start touring these little enclosures, starting with the Bioactive green tree python enclosure up there. So this is Wasabi's little enclosure. There, he or she is hiding up the top there, underneath the heat panel. I actually want to point out something. When I set up this enclosure and I did the video for it, which if you haven't seen it already, there is a video on my channel for it, I failed to mention what heating is inside this enclosure to keep the little guy warm. I've actually got his heat panel just sitting on top of the mesh there, over the log right there, and that's what's providing heating to this enclosure. I've had a few people mention, you know, what did I do for heating, or you know, tell me to check my basking spot temperatures, as if I failed to completely forget to give him any heating. I didn't fail. I just forgot to I failed to put it in the video. But yeah, as you can see, little guy's nice and warm up here. Plenty warm enough for a green tree python. Still 28 degrees considering it's probably about, I'm gonna say 18 in the room at the moment. But yeah, this is his cool little house. Plants are really starting to take off in here. The pothos is kind of coming back. It's taken a little while, taken a bit of a beating too, but that'll all mat right over that back wall soon enough. The little bird's nest ferns and the little staghorn's doing pretty well. This little plant's cranking along. I forget what it's called. I've also got this awesome little ground cover plant that I've put in here that's really starting to take hold and starting to spread out as well. But yeah, that's the little green tree python enclosure. So to the right of the green tree python enclosure, we've got my Perron's tree frog enclosure. These are the little frogs that I got from Chris. They were hopping around earlier this morning. Oh, there's one. Hopefully the lighting's not too horrible. A bit of an awkward spot to kind of film. But they've been hopping around in here. I'll see if I can find another one that's out. They love sitting inside their bromeliads. They're all probably gone into hiding because I gave them a bit of a feed this morning, seeing they were all so active. Oh, there's one. These guys are chunky little buggers. They're starting to put on size really quick. They've at least probably I'd say they're doubled in size since I've got them. They're able to take down a good sized medium cricket now, so won't be too long until these guys are... Ooh, sorry mate, he bounced off there into the bromeliad. So yeah, they're taking some pretty decent sized crickets now, but I really whacked together this enclosure for them. You can see there's a few little fruit flies of sorts bouncing around in there. Pretty simple enclosure. It's got a bit of a drainage layer. Just a standard Exo Terra water bowl. I've just freshened that up for them as well. Yeah, nothing too crazy as far as plants go, but there's some nice logs in there for them to kind of bounce around on. But yeah, that's the Perron's tree frog enclosure. Let's start on row 2. We'll start with the enclosure that I was working on this morning. I didn't really clean the side walls off just because these little guys are crazy little frogs. They seriously bounce like no tomorrow, so I don't really like pulling these enclosure doors apart if I don't really need to. Anyway, so yeah, as you can see, it looks exactly the same as it did half an hour ago. These little frogs, they're hiding in between the wall over there. I think I can see 3. Camera's not going to focus. 3 in amongst the background. I'm not sure if there's any out at the moment hopping around through here, so I may not be able to show these guys off too well. But nonetheless, I reckon it looks a lot better than what it did, and that's definitely going to give them good access into the water, and me a lot better access to be able to change it more frequently and clean it out for them, and hopefully encourage some spawning when they're a little bit bigger. Now they've got their mist king in there too, so that'll keep everything nice and hydrated, and hopefully this plant will kick back a little bit. Might drop a few leaves, but should hopefully bounce back. Yeah, that's the little Latoria bicolour northern sedge frogs. Okay, so in this enclosure we've got my male Waberba leaf-tailed gecko. He was in with the females for a good period of time. However, he seemed to just get a little bit stressed and almost go off his food a little bit. I think he was just a little bit overwhelmed by having 4 girls to muck around with. So I put him back into here just to make sure that he gains some tail mass back and starts growing again. You can see that the umbrella plant's really grown in here too. That's all of its root systems all through the dirt there. Now, let's see if I can find him for you. He's hiding right over the back here. See part of him there. Trying to determine whether that's head or tail. I think that's tail. There we go. There's a good little look at him. Yeah, his tail was so skinny before. It's definitely becoming concerning. So anyway, now he's in here by himself. I think he's definitely a little bit more relaxed. Pop that back nice and gently so I don't crush him. That's his little enclosure there. We'll scooch straight across. This is a little Maritzi leaf-tailed gecko enclosure. This little guy's a pretty cool little leafy. I don't see him very often though, which is a tad disappointing, but you know, part and parcel with leaf-tailed geckos, I suppose. Not sure where he's hiding out either. Oh, I think I found him. There he is there. Beautiful little gecko. These guys don't get too big either, so they're a pretty handy little leaf-tailed gecko. I can't remember what license they're on. They may be on the R1 license, but they may be on the R2 license as well. Oops, sorry mate. Here we go, there's a good shot of him. Fantastic looking little gecko, hey. Really looks really like he's covered in lichen and mosses and all that sort of good forestry stuff. He's a healthy little bugger too, checking the size of that tail. I had to stop the video there quickly and take a photo because this is probably one of the best photo opportunities I could have taken of him. Especially since it doesn't last long. And he's off. Yeah, that's his little enclosure. Oh, they look so much nicer now with the glass cleaned. Definitely worthwhile doing. Right, now, I'll be a little bit biased, but this is my favourite leaf-tail gecko that I own. I'm not sure where it is either, so I'll have to find out. But the cornutus is in here. This little gecko is growing so good. This is the northern leaf-tail gecko. My little cornutus. Pretty sure it's a girl too. So one day I'd like to find it a partner when I've got some funds, because they're not a cheap gecko. See if I can film it with my other hand. Yeah, there's a good look at her. She's a beautiful animal. It's hard to get these shots in these tiny little enclosures. They're so prehistoric looking. Beautiful little animals. I just think her eyes are just fantastic. They're such stunning little lizards. I love coming in here at night and just feeding them and just watching them hunt around and catch things, and yeah, they're fantastic little critters. Okay, so that was the second row. We'll go down to the third row now. We'll start off on this side. These guys have slowed down so much. I've got my Wyberba leaf-tail geckos in here. I'm actually going to pull some crickets, just because there's so many crickets getting around here now, and I don't think they're eating them so well, so I'm definitely feeling the temperature drop. This is a bit of an awkward enclosure to get into as well, so I'll do my best here. There's a good look at one. So all the guys in here are all females. I've got 4 female Wyberbas. So if I'm lucky enough, I might get a few eggs out of these guys this year. I'll see how we go. I'm not really, I don't know. I used to be really fussed if I got eggs or not, but you know, I think if I get eggs, it's just a bonus now, so I'm not too fussed about it. I'll close that door up. I think the other 3 are hiding around on a log around the corner here. Spider webs attached to the cage. Yeah, they're all clammed on that log there. Crammed rather. So I won't disturb them now. So we'll go across into the next tank. This is the red-eye tree frogs. So I can already see one perched up on the glass like they love to be. Little pains. You guys are the reason I need to clean so much glass. There's another little individual there. And the third one, whoop, it's just down there. I think you can see some crickets in the Bioactive enclosure, so a little bit hungry apparently. But yeah, their enclosure's set up to be a pretty aquatic enclosure as well. They've got a couple of little fish in there, a couple of little blue eyes, loads of little duckweed and everything in there to just kind of make it nice and homely. You can see where they've been dumping a bit of the crickets and stuff because there's some calcium powder still left there. Yeah, their enclosure's doing really well. These little guys are growing like weeds too. That's actually the smallest one, and when I got these guys they were tiny, proper tiny little morphs, and now they've yeah, probably about triple the size now since I've had them. I'll scoot across on the final tank. This is the well, you can actually see one of the fish. I've got a couple of those guys in each one of these tanks, and it's just kind of to eat some of the little bits of crickets and stuff like that fall in there, just to make sure that the water doesn't sour too much. I'm not sure if we'll be able to see any of these guys because they're usually pretty hidden during the day. Yeah, they might all be in their logs. Just a bit of a disappointment, but nonetheless, I'll put in a little snippet of, or a photo or something of these guys. This is their little enclosure. Parlour Farm's starting to really take off in here. It's shooting up some new leaves now, new stems. Same sort of deal. Tons of duckweed, little filter, Java moss, a couple little fish for cleaning up, little blue eyes. Yeah, these little enclosures are doing well. Alrighty guys, so we're going to leave it there. It's been another rainy day here in Sydney. It was a good time to break out a razor blade, a bit of RADI water, and give these a good clean over. And just check out how the animals are doing and show off this little rack a bit. So I hope you really enjoyed the video today guys. Stay tuned, we will have a few more videos coming out here, hopefully sooner rather than later. But on the next note, stay safe, be good to each other. I hope you really enjoyed the Exo Terra Bioactive enclosure rack.